this before, so I don't want to go first. Rem,
Right.
I know your opinions. I don't want you to go first. I want Pol Pot to go first. What are your
Okay,
thoughts
you
thus
go
far?
first.
Wait, shouldn't we get Lewis in here because he's also a part of the book club?
He hasn't read anything, and I think he's also sleeping right now.
Because he got the damn audiobook.
Yeah, I don't think he started it yet. He only got the audiobook today because he hasn't read anything.
Damn.
And also, I think he's sleeping.
Watch, he's actually just listening to it right now as we speak.
Fuck it, I wouldn't mind that.
He's. Yeah, I would approve that. So.
All right, Skydog, thoughts, opinions, concerns. What are they? What are you thinking so far?
Alright, so I will say I'm enjoying the fact that this is from like a Sith's point of view, because all we get in the movies is basically like the good guys' point of views.
Yeah,
Like, I like the change of pace, and that
it's ready.
I like how it goes like farther in depth. Like, I wouldn't say in depth, but like it talks about his experiences with the Force, like his beginning experiences.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah. I fucking loved the entire like first part when he's on the mining planet. I thought it was all done so fucking well.
Yes.
Yeah, same here. And I like the gambling scenes as well. I like it when oh yeah, I love the gambling scenes. I thought those were so good, the
You
way
could
they
feel,
like, hey, that's
the tension in that gambling scene too.
The tension was done so well. See what I mean when I told you, Rem, when like fucking the Sabacc scene had nothing on the fucking Sabacc scene in this book from the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah, like the Sabacc scene in Thrawn, where Han Solo had like a changing card or whatever. But like seriously, this scene blew it out of the water.
Dude, the fucking politics that he gets into to establish the world was done so fucking seamlessly in that scene. It did not feel like exposition at all. It felt so obnoxiously natural, and it was so fascinating. Like, I love that he made a totally realistic case as to why people support the Sith. Like...
Yeah, it made me believe, I would support the Sith too, under those circumstances.
It was like
he gave good arguments, like, that's the thing, like...
Yeah. Like, there's people in the universe who already are forced to live their lives the way Sith, like, advertise themselves. They're not only used to it, but that's just how they see the world regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
He has his reasons to hate the Republic.
Yeah, and I love how they treated the Republic, too, as, like, not just generic good guys or just generic bad guys, but, like, they're fighting a war, and they're doing mischievous things to fight this war.
Yeah.
And that means the abuse of the miners,
I'm hoping they also show, like, the bad parts of being in the Sith, too. Like, they're not just all good and great either.
Oh, well... Yeah. You forget, this is the establishment of the rule of two. He's definitely going to have an issue with the Sith.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's not just painting one side as good.
No.
Yeah, it's saying that they're...
well.
Yeah, now, I like that. I felt like it had some more depth. And I gotta say, that opening scene to the book, where he freaking bites off a guy's thumb.
Oh, yeah, that was done so well. And,
it's such a good introduction,
You've already heard me complain about long action scenes really fucking irritating me. And that action scene was pretty long, but it didn't feel like it at all. And I think that's just because they just set up the dynamic between the two characters so well and effectively right before the fight started. Like, his struggles with his dad and how...
I don't think it was really that long, to be completely honest.
No,
it lasted a couple pages.
I mean,
it lasted a couple pages, but the way it was like paced made it feel shorter.
Yeah.
Like, are we also including the part where it was like pre-fight and they were like bickering, or are we going straight into the part where like
I'd just say like the action itself. Because the action. I have this complaint with a lot of Star Wars books that like a lot of the times the action just goes on for way too long to the point that it feels like it's just begging for time to be away from the plot, and then it just irritates me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that happens a lot in Star Wars books, but like...
Yeah, well, even that part where he takes the outpost, it didn't feel like it was that long.
Oh, yeah, it didn't at all. He paces his fights really fucking well. Also,
can we talk...
Oh, go on.
We talked about that sniper scene? Oh my gosh, that was...
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
Freaking... It's like time slowed down and he freaking headshot 9 people, and I'm like, ooh!
Right?
I was like, that's so cool. It was like... you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Samurai Jack, a lot of
oh, yeah, I totally get that.
Time slows down,
When he gets fucking flashbanged and he's still shooting people through the flashbang.
Oh, dude,
Like-
that's so cool. That was so cool. I liked how they did that. You know, it reminded me of Samurai Jack. That's what it reminded me of. So, you know, I was
I'd
feeling.
like to take a minute to send appreciation for the best character in the entire book, the bartender.
Oh yeah, the bartender. I was about to bring up him.
When he goes up to fucking...
Groshek, right? Groshek?
no,
freaking...
no, Kopej is the fucking... He's the Sith Lord. The bartender, I don't even remember his name, honestly. I know he's in the
No.
Moynihan.
I think it was Groshek, I think.
Oh, wait, no, yeah. It was something like that. Fuck.
Yeah, I love that bartender. That was so cool.
Fucking when he tells Bane, he's like, "You think I didn't want to just straight up gun down every single living soul in this bar?" Like, I would have done it, I swear to God.
I was like, ooh, he's not kidding, you know.
Yeah, that's what me and fucking Attila the Hun were referencing a bit ago when we were talking about the bartender and school shootings and shit.
Oh my gosh. I get that now. That is so funny.
Oh, yeah, he's so fucking cool.
I mean, I like that bartender and how like grizzled he is, you know, and how weight torn he is. I like that, you know. I like the gun that he had. I thought the gun was cool.
Yeah, and once again, the writing style. I really like Drew Karpyshyn. I think he's probably, from all the writers I've read, my favorite writer in Star Wars. I just love his writing style so much. It's so digestible. It's so seamless. Everything's paced really nice.
I will say the time jumps can be a little, like, offsetting. Like, the second, like, because it doesn't tell you there's a time jump. It's just you start reading and it's like, oh, there was a time jump.
Yeah, I think you only get the information that's a time jump when they mentioned Kashyyyk like 2 years ago.
The time jump he mentioned that like, oh yeah, over a year ago on Kashyyyk, and I was like, oh
yeah,
here's the time jump, and I actually kind of like that instead of having old words like 1 year later, you know, it just explains it through the dialogue, and I prefer that, you know, instead of shoving it into my face. That's
and
1
plus
year
you kind of
later.
got the sense that there was a time jump just because of like
the
sense of ownership he had from the dialogue.
It's just like that first sentence, you're like, oh, there was a time jump.
Yeah, I get that.
There's
one book that does a really
second where I had to stop
Wars.
and be like, oh, okay. I guess I'm
Dawn
not
of
going
the
to read about the
Jedi.
recruitment part.
Yeah, no recruitment part, which I guess is fine because they're kind of just trying to push you to the
it throws you into the action, you know. It knows not to dwell too much on the small details, you know. It throws you right into it.
Whatever he was, that goddamn captain.
What was his name? Lou something? Lupion?
I don't know. It was something, but fuck that guy, dude.
Yeah. I like the point where I liked him where he knocked him out cold, like, dude. And like nobody like freaking rioted against him. They were like, oh yeah, man, we're with you. We're with you. I was like, dude. I thought that was so cool.
I do like the part whenever he's like talking to the Sith, or like he's like giving like genuine answers. He's not like trying to kiss ass.
Yeah, no.
He is trying to kiss ass a little bit, but he's not like bullshitting kissing ass.
Yeah. And one thing that I also really like is the characterization of the Sith. Like, he's not just a generic evil bad guy. He's like, good, you have power, like Palpatine type. Like, but he's actually like curious and actually like nurturing him. You can tell in his dialogue, like he actually wants him to do something. Like,
yeah, and I like that.
No, he comes across like, even though, you know, he's probably an evil bastard, and he's still a teacher, and he still like wants to teach him, and it's not just, ooh, I'm evil and want you to be evil, you know?
Yeah, I also like how they like added in like the flaws of like how the Jedi recruit such young people.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I like how that was
Yeah.
never like brought up in the movie, but like here it is brought up, and like it sounds very sound of like, hey, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, so cool, honestly.
Like,
you know?
I like the fact you get to see the Sith views of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, this is majority a Sith-focused book, but once you start to get to the end, you get introduced to some Jedi point of views.
Okay, so it balances itself out.
Yeah. And this point in time also is very, very different than the Republic era. The Jedi are actually considered as like lords of like different like lands at this point, because just for some context of the world, because I know this is kind of isn't entirely spelled out for you once you get to the Jedi portion, so I just want to tell you now. Like the Jedi and the Republic have pretty much become like one thing. Like that was kind of like
Oh.
mentioned a little bit in the
Yeah,
bar. Where
it was
he
mentioned
Well,
in the book.
I-
Because
I
they
kinda
talk about
thought
how
as
the
much.
Jedi and the Senate are one.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much. So
well,
what
to
you have
me,
is you have like Jedi lords like ruling over planets and whatnot.
to
Like,
me, it kind of shows like the religion included in the state, like
yeah,
as a part of the state, and then later on it gets separated into two different entities,
mhm.
and to me, I think that's really cool because it reflects some of real life because some of that happened in like Rome.
Oh yeah, get the whole thing with the Crusades and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool too.
Yeah, so I
Well,
just want to give
even
that context for later when
right before
when
the
it gets
Clone
brought up.
Wars, Jedi actually still have like they're like assigned to like sectors of the galaxy.
Well, kind of. During the events of the Clone Wars, the biggest fear was that the Jedi were gonna become like the Jedi of old and kind of like usurp the Republic. They were put under the branch of a Republic. They are considered the Republic, and they still have the tagline "Guardians of the Republic." But
Hmm.
that being said, they were used more as like police keeping than anything. They weren't like they were supposed to be kept out of politics, really, and they were supposed to be like, "Hey, we have this." For instance, in Episode 1, there's a trade dispute that like needs like some Jedi helping over there. Do you mind if we send 2 Jedi over there to see if they can help us out in that regard? But they're not like in the Senate making all the big calls and whatnot. Like they're purely like a policing force, and that's it. Just like some extra might because they demilitarized.
Hmm.
So that was like their purpose when the Republic gets reformed, which you get to see a little bit of in this book.
Oh.
But once again, they still were supposed to be separated. It wasn't supposed to be like an official religion like how it is currently in the book.
Hmm. I also like the fact that they brought up Darth Revan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they did bring up Darth Revan. I like that.
he actually goes later in the book. He kind of becomes a little Sith Indiana Jones and starts learning a lot of really older Sith secrets from KOTOR and shit. He gets to learn a little bit more about like Rakatan and shit. Cool stuff. So, final thoughts. What do y'all think?
Well, I'm not like. I still want to talk about a couple more things. I like the fact that um, the Force even guides like the dark users. Like it's not just limited to like guiding Jedi. Like
Oh yeah.
it talks about how the Force literally as if like the Force is controlling the galaxy. Like no one actually has control of their own destiny. Like the Force is literally like in complete control.
Ooh, Ryan, you make me so happy when you say that. Something that the EU has done so expertly is give such nuance to the Force. The whole Jedi philosophy of the Force that we see in the movies that people take as the dogma of the Force essentially being the light side and the dark side just being a perversion, not at all the case. In all of the books and the comics of the old expanded universe, the stuff we're reading right now, the Force instead is treated as one thing. There is no light side, there is no dark side. Those are just the religions that were man made. There is just the Force and how you use it.
Like
And that's
at the
it.
very beginning days of like quote unquote Jedi or Sith, they were actually all one group, but they broke in half, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because of difference in beliefs.
Yep. Originally, there was no Jedi, no Sith.
Yeah, it was just do as the Force wills.
Yeah. Actually, the name Sith itself comes from like a group of dark Jedi that went rogue and broke off and actually conquered the species, the Sith, and they became their lords. Hence, they became known as the Lords of the Sith. But eventually, they became infused with Sith culture, and that became tied to dark side philosophy through time. That it no longer became Lord of the Sith species, but the Sith Lords themselves. The Sith became the name of the ideology rather than just the species itself. And then eventually the Sith species died off, but then obviously the Sith lineage still lives on through the dark side, like the modern interpretation of the dark side.
Yeah.
That's where Sith comes from, which I think is so fucking cool. Ooh, so cool. Such cool history.
Yeah.
I love like how when he lands on Korriban, he talks about like what he feels when he lands there too. That was pretty neato.
Oh yeah, that was fucking cool. God, I can't wait to fucking continue this book, man. It's so fucking
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, same here. And I've already gotten the Rule 2 already. I've already got that.
Ooh. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you boys
yeah.
feel like completing the trilogy then?
I guess we might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, man, this book really it doesn't lose traction. It stays gripping.
Like, I just
Yeah, I
love
mean,
the
I'm
in-depthness that it's going on the Force.
Oh yeah, you'll get that from almost every old expanded universe book. You'll get that kind of depth, unless it's like a tie-in to like TCW. Like everything from the old EU really only served to like really give more depth to the Force as a whole, and treat it more as like this more unknown entity that like everyone just has fucking wrong. Like, ooh, I think we get the most philosophy on it in the new Jedi Order series, which we really got to work to, man. The best Star Wars content that has ever come out and ever will come out is the new Jedi Order series, hands down.
I will say it sucks that like people that only watch the movies and then the people that also go into like these books get two different views of how the Force works.
But see,
Yeah.
here's the cool thing though. Like the interpretations of the Force from the books still seamlessly apply to the movies completely. There still is no contradiction.
I mean, but like they act like there's two different forces in like the newer movie. I'll just say like, what is it fucking called? The one where they killed what is it, Luke? Which one was that?
Last Jedi.
Yeah, whenever
Last
like
Jedi.
Rey was tapping into
Ooh.
the Force,
Yeah.
they acted like there was two different forces. Like there was the good Force,
Yep,
like the light side,
that
and then there was
really
the dark
pissed me
side
off.
Force.
Yeah.
And now I'm reading
Yeah.
this, and I'm just like, but now I believe that the Force is just one thing controlling the entire fucking galaxy.
Yeah.
Because it's literally like, if the Force was so good and great, why is it leading this guy to slaughter Republic troopers
Ooh,
with his eyes
See?
fucking blind?
I love this so much, dude. These are the questions that the EU brings up all the fucking time. The EU gets those questions head on, dude. Well, I'm telling you, one of these days we need to watch this hour-long video on this character, Kreia from KOTOR 2. Because her character exists directly to answer that specific question. Like, if the Force is so
Wow.
great and it has a will, why does it have a will seemingly in accordance to constant, continual psych violence?
Correct.
That's
Because-
like that question is brought up so much throughout the old EU.
I think it's,
not
not
just
more
shut
like
away from.
the Force, like, I think it's I say human, the species ideologies of the Force that keep bringing them to war. Like,
Yeah.
they won't come together on an agreement. They just believe in their side, and they believe the other side is wrong. Kind of like
That's
how
exactly it. Yeah.
politics can be. I don't want to get into politics,
Yeah.
but it's basically like
Well, it's very
two political
yeah.
parties fighting over the same thing.
You can even like bring religion into this. Say like the original religion was Judaism, and then Christianity branched off, and then like Muslims branched off. You know that thing. Like fucking. And you know the coolest part? There's such a nice line of continuity and such a rich history that builds off of one another. Like Luke's Jedi Academy is in the old EU is a genuine answer to all of those quarrels. Like he went out of his way to learn the errors of prior Jedi and not repeat them. He like was open to his student about the dark side. He actually encouraged them to dabble in it to get an understanding of it. Like he was full on like fucking the perception of what people think gray Jedi are. Like pretty much he was the ideal Jedi. He wasn't dogmatic. He encouraged experimentation. Like Luke's Jedi Academy was the answer to the faults of the Clone Wars and the Old Republic Jedi and Sith.
Which makes sense.
Wow.
It does make sense. I mean, like, once again, he's the guy who saved Space Hitler. Fucking cool. It's such a nice progression to see how Luke's academy reacts to the galaxy in conjunction to the faults of the prior Jedi. It's so nice. It really is.
Something that also confused me, like, I'm glad like it gets brought up in memes and stuff. I don't know how many people actually like believe it, but like the movies always like they talk about like balance in the Force, but then you got this entire one-sided group in complete control, where there's only two people of the other side that are even allowed. Actually, they just want them completely fucking exterminated for there to be balance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not
Yeah.
balance. That's literally putting all your weight
it's
in
not.
one area.
Yeah, it's terrible. It doesn't make fucking sense at all.
Like, if the will of the Force was so great, why is it allowing your entire Jedi temple to get slaughtered by one man with mommy issues?
Yeah. And once again, the EU tackles this question head on. Luke decides to take that entire concept of balance and reinterpret it with his whole view of there being like kind of like sure, dark side and light side may exist, but obviously balance has nothing to do with like what side you choose to be, but just your usage of the force itself.
Hmm.
Like that's what balance is.
Like,
That's
one
it.
big question I have now is, if the Force is controlling everything in the galaxy, what is its end goal?
Yeah, that's something that never gets directly answered, but still gets brought
Well,
up.
I'm sure it's never going to be answered, but it makes me
Yeah.
want to know what is the end goal of this mysterious force.
Yeah.
Because it's
Well,
allowing
Could be
I feel
all
like-
destruction of the
these.
galaxy.
Well, considering it's a natural force, it could just be the way of nature, like having predators hunt out prey, on both sides, if you think about it like that, So if you think about it like from that point of mind, there really isn't a good or bad side, Each side hunts out their own prey, if you think about it.
Would you guys like to hear my theory on how the force works?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, shoot.
Here's what it is. There is no light side, there is no dark side, there is only the force. Light side and dark side are purely just ideological fucking fallacies created by fallible men. Okay? But that being said, when you say there is no light side, no dark side, you have to like then also confront the fact that there very clearly is a kind of force that physically corrupts people. And then we get people like Palpatine, Like
Yeah.
it is physically corrupting them, and there also is a trend of people who rely on the quote unquote dark side to fall into bouts of like narcissism and wanting to feed on power. So you have to confront those two things. Here's my theory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The force is called the living force for a reason because it's made up of metachlorians and their relationship to the wills. Metachlorians are living things that live on us, live on absolutely everything living has metachlorians. The more metachlorians you have, better attuned you are to the force. That's how it works. So, that being said, everyone knows that you're able to sense other force users. You can create a force bond to like sense like, oh, I sense my master's presence type of thing. And there's also disturbances in the force. When a great many people die, Jedi can feel it, or if they're, person they have a force bond with dies, they can feel it. So, that's metachlorians reacting to one another. That being said, to put an explanation for force corruption, I'd say it's a parasitic relationship. Okay, for the force to live, it needs to be on living things. So you are a host for the force. But if you go out of your way to kill other living things, damage other metachlorians, then the metachlorians in you are able to feel that, and then you get a negative reaction. Because after all, it's a parasite. It's living with you, but it also has the ability to kill you. It's like mistletoe on. It's like mistletoe. It attaches itself to the host to live off of. It's also using its force, but if it starts to like die, or if the tree gets sick, it's able to like destroy the sickness. If the parasite starts to die, it will also kill its host. It's that same concept with metachlorians. So the metachlorians, as you using force on another living being, it will start to have a negative reaction on you. That being said, you can use force lightning and not get all fucked up physically, as long as you're not damaging other metachlorians. So, once again, you can force choke, like you can force crunch like a robot and you won't get infected with it. But as soon as you start using force choke on another living thing, you're going to start faltering and you're going to start like getting all mentally fucked up. But not mentally, physically fucked up. And then you start looking like Palpatine after extended usage of that. That being said, the people who are like just always the trend of dark side users generally being terrible people kind of more so comes from the ideology of only the strong can survive, and the fact that they had that philosophy and the fact that they had the philosophy of violence first shows the the trend between them getting fucked up physically because of their use of the dark side due to their philosophy inherently. What do you guys think of that?
There's a few
That
flaws.
makes sense.
I think that fits perfectly. I don't think there's any holes in that. Really.
Well, like, okay, I'm gonna go for what the movie showed, but like when Palpatine was using Force Lightning on Mace Windu, he was only turning older when the lightning was hitting the lightsaber and not Windu.
Yeah.
Well, that one I think is a little bit of a strange topic because, in all EU material, we see force corruption happen more gradually, and we see it also happen that with of yellow eyes. We see Anakin, after a bit of force corruption, get yellow eyes and whatnot. And I think Palpatine, it happens for him immediately, and I don't think there's a good explanation for that, but,
Maybe Mace Windu had like a ton of midichlorian, because he was like such a strong Jedi, and because of the fact that he had a ton, when Palpatine did that, it caused him, to
well,
really...
he was saying that because it was hitting his lightsaber and he still turned. I think the original impression that Lucas was going for was that his face was always gnarly, but he was using some sort of magic to hide it until he started unleashing his power.
That makes sense.
That makes sense from his movie-making perspective, but it doesn't fit with the current established lore, because that was re-explained as, like, dark side corruption. But you could also say, wait, hold up.
Okay.
While he was blocking the lightsaber, you could see that it still was hitting him as his skull was flashing every now and then.
I have to relook at that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can pull it up. Like I got the whole movie on my hard drive.
But like, what was it? I feel like Palpatine. I really feel like he didn't look, because whenever like, I think I've seen like some images of Palpatine, like, with his master, and he looks young.
Oh, well, yeah, that's because we should totally read the book Darth Plagueis at some point, because it actually covers Palpatine's younger life. He wasn't born an evil Sith guy. He was born a normal teenager into a royal family on Naboo.
Oh.
I feel like
he
no
grew
one is
up
born
normal
either
life.
good or bad when it comes to the Force. It's the
Yeah.
way they choose to use the Force that is determining, and the people that are like teaching them and making them grow up learning these ways.
Exactly it. That's also what Luke taught in his Jedi Academy.
Right.
Yeah, no, he's not. I lied, actually. It doesn't happen in the scene. Oh, wait, no, never mind. His lightning is retracting back and hitting him. I think that may actually just be just physical damage because of his lightning hitting himself.
Most likely.
Yeah, because you go back, you watch the scene, his lightning is actually retracting back from his lightsaber and hitting Palpatine. So, that doubles it. With my theory, you can now double it. He's not only fucking up his skin from the lightning, but he's also damaging his own metachlorians that are then reacting on himself. But even then, even for just the normal explanation of dark side fucks you up physically, it's still dodgy because in every case that we've seen of it, it's not that spontaneous. It's not that instant. Like, it's gradual. Like, even in the case of Jason Solo, when he went evil in, like, the Second Galactic Civil War books, it mentions that he very clearly looks as if he aged, like, an extra 10 years due to his, like, Sith usage, but that was also over the course of, like, him experimenting with Sith stuff in, like, 4 years.
You also gotta remember, stress in itself causes people to age.
Yeah.
Maybe just learning all that dark side stuff is just very stressful. I don't know. With this one.
It could be,
Even
Either way,
living on Tatooine, your skin ages faster than if you were born on Naboo.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to make that explanation as to why Obi-Wan looks so old.
Well, that's even true, like, here on, like, real life.
Yeah, but that's kind of, like, extreme, though. That's real extreme.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
No, Obi-Wan was tapping into the dark side.
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan used
Obi-Wan.
Force lightning on innocent civilians every day just so he could look super old and better time.
Oh, no. What happened was like those Sand people were trying to attack Obi-Wan. He had to like lightning them away. That's why they're afraid of him. He killed so many Sand people. They're now afraid of him.
But
That's
see,
what
now
looks
I
so
got
old.
questions about Force Ghosts now that I'm thinking more about it.
Oh, that's never truly gone into depth. In neither
but,
continuity.
They make it seem
Oh,
like
yeah.
only light side users can become a Force Ghost, but now that the
Yeah,
Force is its
doesn't it?
own, thing that I'm thinking has its own predestiny that it's trying to create, it would
See,
mean
in
that
that case,
just being a
I'd
gray
say
Jedi / gray Sith would be a guaranteed for becoming a
yeah.
ghost.
The very, very ending of episode 6 definitely muddies that. I honestly think in this case, when it comes to how Force Ghosts are used in EU and how they are seen in the end of episode 3 in regards to Yoda talking about Qui-Gon, I think it was a direct retcon. Because definitely in the original cut of episode 6, when Lucas was writing it, the intention was, last minute he went light side, so he was granted the ability of a Force Ghost. That was certainly the intention. But obviously, that gets muddied by episode 3, George Lucas himself, when he talks about Qui-Gon finding a way to come back. Like, he specifically uses the wording that he found out how to commune. And that's also really dodgy because Qui-Gon wasn't very pro-light side, as we know. Yeah, he was a good dude, but he actively spoke out against the Jedi, his entire life. Hence why he wasn't allowed a spot on the council, as per episode 1.
Which would mean that he's more of a gray Jedi and should be more guaranteed the Force Ghost, in my opinion, now that I have read this book.
Yeah. But
The
once
first
again,
8
with the
chapters.
very, very clear interpretation of episode 6, it's just if you're light side, you get a Force Ghost. I honestly think that that's just something that was directly retconned. So I don't think there's much explanation you can really say for that.
It kind of sucks that, George Lucas didn't, predetermine his universe before making the movies. He did as he was making the movies.
Just think that the word Sith was never said once in the original trilogy.
What?
That's crazy to think about, isn't it? Since it's so integral to Star Wars lore.
Interesting.
Wait.
You literally can't even imagine the original trilogy without calling Vader and Palpatine Sith lords, but literally the word Sith is never once mentioned or ever brought up in the original trilogy.
Interesting.
Isn't that just crazy to think about? Yeah. So I think in that case, yeah, it was a direct retcon.
Yeah, now I've been thinking a lot more about the Force.
Oh, okay. The word Sith was never spoken in the original trilogy of Star Wars films. It did appear in Alan Dean Foster's novelization of the first film, which described Darth Vader as a Dark Lord of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And you know the funniest thing? Even by the Thrawn trilogy, which you've read, Rem.
Yeah,
Do you know the background thing of the term Sith? At
No.
that point, they still didn't even know what the Sith were gonna be. So the Nogri were originally supposed to be the Sith, and that was where Darth Vader was supposed to get his title as Lord of the Sith, because he's the one who
Really?
conquered the Nogri. Yeah, so the Nogri were supposed to be what the Sith is, originally.
Wow.
Obviously, that didn't go through because Lucas didn't really like that idea too much. He's like, I don't know, I kind of have a different plan for it.
Y'all remember the early concepts of the Clone Wars?
No.
What in specific? Oh, wait.
Just
yeah, what?
before the writers knew what the Clone Wars were, they were just coming up with ideas of what it was.
Yeah, Lucas was very tight with the EU at that point before the prequels had come out. He had a rule to not talk about the Clone Wars, but if you wanted to, you'd go to him and run it by him. So that's where you get a few things that are a little bit weird. For instance, the date is not perfect when it comes to how many years have passed since the Battle of Hanagir, when it mentions it happened during the Clone Wars in the Thrawn trilogy. But they were able to not retcon that and actually just use that as a way to describe, they were talking in terms of Nogri years because that's where they got the information from. So that was a super easy way to explain that.
Yeah, my brother Luke actually brought that up to me when he was in the middle of reading Dark Horse Rising. He was like, "No, the years don't add up." I'm like,
Yeah, they
dude,
don't.
that's in Nogiri years. You know, they're a little
Yeah.
longer than human years. You know, and you got to think about it's multiple
Yeah.
generations, and you have to add in Leia's years. I'm like,
Obviously, the explanation wasn't in the book because no one fucking knew how long it was really going to be at that point.
Yeah,
But
it wasn't.
the
But,
later on in like source books, they decided to put the explanation there for the fans, which was nice. And then there's also like little things like such as the creation of the Death Star has a couple different conditions throughout the books, as well as like a weird like couple things such as people citing clone masters, which is just weird terminology but still can work.
Yeah,
And,
well, that's why I thought in Thrawn trilogy you mentioned those clone master and like are they talking about the Geonosians or like
no the
see that's the thing.
Kaminoans.
Those
I think Kaminoans would be the easiest explanation for that. But even then, like little terminology like that can easily be explained by the fact that the Empire would have doctored the past and whatnot, and everybody isn't going to be as educated on it if they weren't born during the events.
Oh, okay.
And on top of that, when it comes to the differing Death Star things, they made a book specifically for the fans in that regard. After episode 3 and 2 came out, and George Lucas also put his ring into the hat of how the Death Star was created, and it was different from like the 5 other ways that was given as an explanation in the EU. There was a book that was made just to tie it all together, simply called Death Star. And what it did, it took all of those explanations and literally put it together as one seamless story, pretty much. Like, it literally it was a book made for the fans to, like, retcon the continuity errors, and it doesn't even feel like it, because it was done so expertly that it just, like, it melds all the different stories together into one that just works. And once again, that was just done for the fans. Like, I have such appreciation for Lucasfilm pre-Disney, dude. The fact that they would just do that. Because people were like, hey, what's the deal with all these different Death Star stories, huh? He's like, oh, you know what? You're right. That's an issue. Let's make an entire book about it to try to wrap it up with a nice bow. And they did it. Like, mwah.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I like that as well. What I find really weird about reading the EU, I like look online and everybody's like, oh, you don't read EU books unless you have a neckbeard. I'm like, shut up, you know.
Yeah, you guys fucking suck. I hate people like that.
Yeah, I hate people. I'm like, dear God, have you guys even read any of the books? You know, I just feel like they're just
They really haven't. Especially when you get the people who say, oh, the continuity was just a complete mess from the EU. It had to be rebooted. It was like, okay, well, now I just know you don't know what you're talking about. Like, once again, I just told you they made a book specifically for the fans because there was an issue. Like,
well, I mean, they have a whole guide in the beginning of the e-books, like a whole timeline. It's very accurate, you know.
Literally, they give you specific dates for every single book that has ever come out.
Yeah, and it's very helpful. And I don't understand, you know, like, oh, it's just so metal. No, it has an accurate timeline, you know. Literally, and considering, like,
the new Jedi Order series comes with a map of the galaxy in the back of the book. Like,
yeah, exactly. You know,
don't fucking
like comparing it to the continuity of our franchises, like Marvel Comics. That one you cannot track at all. Trust me, I've tried.
No,
it's a nightmare. It needs to die, honestly.
That's how it is for current Disney canon too, which is what especially pisses me off for people who try to say that, because you know they can't say Disney canon has continuity, because the Disney canon is notoriously riddled with timeline issues left and right.
I got something.
And not
anyone
just
that
from
says the EU has like troubles with like timeline. Fucking X-Men movies, like holy fucking shit.
Oh god. Well, I feel like the X-Men movies just didn't know if they wanted to reboot or not.
Well, they did like a halfway reboot. They're like, oh, we rebooted, but you know, not quite. I mean, people look different, but you know, we still got Logan.
Because it started as just, oh, these are the same characters but younger, But then they're like, oh, but we really want to fit in a lot of stories because these are some big budget actors that everyone really likes, so we might as well just continue their stories. Oh, what's this? There's now continuity issues? Well, that's because it may or may not be an alternate universe.
And now it's gotten even more confusing because they got the actor from X-Men, Quicksilver, and now he's in the WandaVision show.
Oh yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, well, they kind of explained it as that he was a spy for the supervillain, and the supervillain just kind of recast him. So and she was like controlling him or whatever.
Oh,
that new show is very confusing, and it doesn't. And like the villain's plan doesn't make any sense at all.
Is it good? Because everybody's talking about it, but I haven't really heard anything good or bad.
Okay,
person said
okay. I can give you my general opinion right now. The stuff where it's like the Truman Show, where it's like, breaking the fourth wall a bit, where it's being a bit self-aware, and where it's doing some Truman Show stuff, is great. I like that. It gets kind of creepy. I like that. What I don't like is all the military junk and the freaking daughter of the black lady, Captain Marvel. She's the worst character. She's like, oh, look at that femboss go! She's breaking through the barrier! I'm just like, God, kill her, please. And she, in like that character has an obvious thing of like freaking, what was it called, where someone like takes you as a hostage, you fall in love for your captor or whatever, Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, she has freaking Stockholm syndrome, and I'm like, this is so dumb. Scenes with her is dumb.
How did we get so?
Everything else,
Yeah,
sorry, my bad.
We've gone from Star Wars all the way to the new WandaVision show.
I mean, it's all bought by Disney now, so
Yeah, it's all owned by Disney.
Connected.
Shit, fuck, everything is owned by Disney. What is this dystopia we live in?
Yeah, we live in a true dystopia. Okay, we better go back on topic. I'm sorry for.
Can we just take a minute to appreciate just Darth Bane versus the Republic Troopers?
That was really well done. The way it described him as like seeing a glowing knife and shit, like. And he's God, he's dead.
And later even mentions like the knife doesn't actually glow. Like he was literally like seeing in the fucking dark.
Mm-hmm. Like,
what I like more than anything was like they brought the fact that he could spare that one guy's life, but he didn't because he was like wanting to kill him so bad. And I'm like, dude.
And I like how he goes into like his thoughts after it happens too. Like he's like somewhat like panicking and feeling guilty.
He becomes. His character development is so fucking like. You really get a good sense of seeing how his mental state changes as the book goes on. Like, Bane at the end of the book is a completely different Bane from what we just read, but it's not at all jarring at all. It's perfectly reasonable. Like, one thing I want you all to do is just... Yeah, it's perfect. It's really well done character growth. Like, just think on, like, how he acts by the time we finish the book and just think back on how he was in the beginning. And then if we read the rest of the trilogy, like, it really comes down to, like, oh my god, this isn't even the same person anymore. But it's, like, seamless. Completely and totally seamless. Like, it's so well done.
I will say it makes me a little sad. Like, he's going from, like, these new, like, Sith troopers are my friends to, I'm gonna leave my entire past behind and start anew.
Well, it makes sense.
He finally had
because
friends,
he was, like,
and he finally was somewhere where he felt like he belonged, and then all of a sudden he's ready to throw it all away.
Well, it's not like he could go back. I mean, they probably would court-martial him. He can't go back.
Yeah, they probably would. And not to mention, I think it did good. I like the part where you remembered the words of the barkeeper, and he remembers a lot of his past too, where he was the only one to get through it himself. You can't trust others in his point of view at this time. For him, he's like, I'm only trusting myself.
And that's like integral to a Sith as well, and the fact that he's lived like that his entire life. Yeah, we can hear you. And like the fact, yeah.
Can he not hear us?
Hello. Let me add him. Okay, well, anyway, I guess I'll just continue. Fucking, I already forgot. It's too late.
He's still going. Shit. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Fuck.
The book is good. The book is great.
Very good.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I'm back.
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. For some weird reason, my internet was going out. Okay. Yeah. That's my idea on it anyway. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I wanted to say. His character is very focused on like moving forward and not looking back, even further in the book. But though it's very clear to him that like his history is like why he is the way he is today. Like you get just a sense of all the past events leading up to each moment throughout the book. Like even though his character, even further in the books goes, has a couple points where he's like, all right, I need to move forward. I must reject the past. You, as the reader, are able to see all of the building blocks from prior in the book that led to that moment, and it still affects him, most certainly. Like, it's done pretty fucking well. So regardless of what he's saying, I'll have you know that the book still isn't going to be, like, that non-self-aware to the point that it treats it as a new beginning. You still feel the effects of the prior, like, events that happens.
That's good.
It, like, the book really treats it as that's what his character would say, just like a good writer would, because that is what his character would say. And once again, this writer isn't shit. He's not putting in a self-insert. He's writing for a character. So there's no need, you should honestly get rid of that line of thinking, which I know is hard because a lot of media is shit, and you're kind of forced to think that way.
Well, I mean,
but this
like,
is
a lot
high
of anime I
quality
watch,
stuff.
a lot of the main characters are just self-inserts.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. It's hard not to think like that when you're actually like encountered with good writing. Like you start singing the praises of the most basic
this feels
things.
more like you're reading like a really interesting biography.
Right? It's fucking good. So good.
There he goes
Oh,
again.
there he goes
Shit.
again.
I wonder if he caught any of that.
But yeah, I'm excited. What should we read to now? What are you thinking?
Hang on just a second. But can we like talk about like when he's playing cards with the troopers and like they talk about how the Jedi see like every species as equal, but Darth Bane brings up like every species isn't equal. I thought that was a really good line.
Yeah. And you know, it's especially like important to see that in the Star Wars universe when you have multiple different aliens of different evolutionary origins of different brain capacities.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never more true than in the Star Wars universe. And it's interesting to think that you could actually make a case for racism in Star Wars. Like,
Well, I honestly, okay, I'm remembering this a lot because it pisses me off. But the fact that people believe that, like, yeah, okay, just this pains me a lot. But the people bring up a lot of hate or racism towards the droids in Star Wars.
yeah.
And like that fucking Han movie, that one robot lady chick pisses me off so much. Because she's like, oh, droids, you have your freedom. You will never deserve to be treated. Fucking the Clone Wars and this. Everyone hates droids for a reason. It's because the fucking Clone Wars and the CIS use droids to take over worlds. Like, people hate them for a reason. Their hate is not unjustified.
And also on top of that, it just doesn't make fucking sense. I mean, that movie establishes that regardless of what the droid is made for, they're all given sentience. Like that confirms like droid sentience, which is like really problematic for droids. There was always left ambiguous in Star Wars, and in the Thrawn trilogy, they gave a little bit of an explanation for R2, where they said like the longer like the droid lives, like the more personality it takes on, type thing.
I think droids in Star Wars have a learning AI, where they're not giving sentience, but they're given the option as they live longer to develop their own personalities.
Yeah, that's exactly what it should be, then and done. Like, it should just be that.
The fact that she believes...
But not in Solo. They're all literally just no different than sentient humans, just in a droid shell, apparently.
But they're fucking not.
Yeah.
And a lot of droids don't even have the ability to freely think, like, past, like, their programming of to do this one job.
Yep. Except all of the droids in Disney canon. Once again, when she freed all the droids, they all went crazy and like started destroying all the shit like they were sentient and have just been
The
dying to
droids,
be free.
those droids should not have had the ability to think of rebellion unless they actually were taught about fucking rebellion. Because their AI should be a learning AI, not, oh, you are already pre-programmed with the fucking internet.
Also, Lando wraps his dick in wiring.
But
Don't forget that.
There was this one video essay I watched. I'm sure I could probably still find it somewhere. But it talked about like racism in Star Wars towards the droids, and I wrote a huge fucking paragraph in the comments section.
Why was he like? What was his point that he was vibing for?
I honestly don't remember because it was quite long ago. But I'm sure I could find it somewhere. But like, I didn't want to like sound like I was just hating on his video essay. I was like, I'm not completely disagreeing with you, but here are the faults in your arguments.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why you think this way, but here is what I believe and think.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't trying to, like, start up, like, a civil war in his comment section, but I was just like, I see why you believe this way, but here are my thoughts of why people hate fucking droids.
And once again,
you remember that scene in episode, what, I think it was 4, when he was like, we don't serve their kind here?
Yeah.
When to see through, it said that that bartender's parents were killed by B1 batter droids.
Mm-hmm.
That is why he hates them, not because of racism, but because his parents were literally killed by that kind.
Yeah, but also you can just simply, when it comes to like bartenders, you could always just make the explanation that's like, hey, they don't need liquor, they're wasting it.
True.
Like, yeah. We don't want droids thinking they need a liquor, wasting my liquor. I'd rather have a human that can taste it, like drink it. But yeah, once again, they give the explanation it being like the fault of the Clone Wars, which is nice. And then you get things like the Mandalorian.
Oh god.
Yeah. I mean, at least with like that one, what is it? IG unit? Like, the IG unit seemed like it had a learning, and it was learning to care, and it was programmed to care, but it still had its factory settings of it could not be, which is still a little strange because it is technically captured and should self-destruct. But the fact that
it's true.
It was programmed to care, and it had to relearn everything. I like that aspect.
Well, I was mostly talking about how they handle the Mandalorian's relationship to fucking droids, like. And then, like, the fucking scene that they showed when he was a kid, they gave the explanation that he was ravaged during the Clone Wars, which is fine. But the scene really bothers me because what the fuck is the CIS doing? They're literally just pillaging, like, and murdering civilians for.
But isn't that what sometimes the CIS did?
Yeah, in TCW.
I mean, true. I guess they're still going over the whole TCW canon.
Yeah, you're right. All they had is TCW in that regard.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess that does fit.
In TCW, there is a scene where the droids are literally like shooting up houses full of civilians. They don't kill anyone, but the fact that they're still just randomly blasting into houses.
Yeah, because like in TCW, the fucking separatists had absolutely no characterization to them. They were just simply the bad guys who did bad things.
Yeah.
So every single one of their attacks was never for any politically motivated reason other than an evil guy told them to do it.
Now, I'm not an evil person, but I love movies, shows, or books that like go into the bad guys' perspectives and gives me their point of view and why they believe in what they believe.
That's something that, once again, the EU outside of TCW did so well with the Separatists. The books and comics created such a good narrative for the Separatists. They were perfectly humanized. They had their reasons for defecting, and they weren't just mindlessly fucking capturing planets by brute force.
Yeah. There were a few, I think there was like 1 or 2 episodes where the Clone Wars did try to make the CIS not seem as evil.
There are times, no doubt.
Yeah, there were times where there was like they're saying, "Oh yeah, the CIS are completely evil and they're doing evil." But I feel like there was also times where they're trying to tell, like, the Separatists weren't completely evil and there were still like people with good intentions of leaving the Republic.
Yeah,
I wish they dove farther into that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly,
I love
my favorite
reading
scene,
the gray parts of stories.
for instance, in the EU, Count Dooku, completely different character than how he is in TCW. TCW, he's the ultimate evil bad guy doing evil things because he's a Sith Lord. Like, for instance, the way he trained, like, Savage Opress, completely out of character for him. Not only just in accordance to Episode 2, even though we know very little about him, but just with his EU and comic book counterparts, it just doesn't fit. The man most certainly dealt with shady, diabolical shit a lot, most certainly, but he convinced himself to do so under the guise that the Republic was a genuinely failing system and the Jedi were dogmatic and part of the bigger reason as to why it was failing.
I remember reading about that, like Count Dooku left because he saw the faults of the Republic. But like, even looking at like Count Dooku Clone Wars Episode 2, and then looking at Count Dooku The Clone Wars, it feels like he's a different person, because when he's talking to Obi-Wan in Episode 2, he's trying to make a case and like trying to be reasonable with him.
Genuine. Yeah, he literally just straight up tells him, "Yo, there's a fucking Sith Lord controlling your courts. Fucking open your eyes." And when you can literally tell from his acting when he says, "I wish Qui-Gon were here to help me out," he genuinely means it.
Because Qui-Gon would have been like on Dooku's side, and then, well, maybe not completely on his side, but would have saw his reasoning.
I don't think Qui-Gon would have gone about the same way that he would, but I believe that Qui-Gon would have agreed with every ideal of him.
Well, one thing I don't understand, if like Count Dooku told him that there's a Sith Lord, the Supreme Court, why didn't they like investigate it sooner than Episode 3? You know, at like last minute.
Because they saw him as a Sith. They saw, oh, he's a dark Jedi who's gone to the dark side. We can't trust anything that he says.
Oh, okay.
Well,
and then they were also so fucking full of themselves. They said, how could a Sith Lord be controlling it, that they never took it truly seriously until later in the war.
Actually,
and that's when they were investigating Palpatine.
In the Clone Wars TV show, I think it's season 6. I think that was the second to last season, right?
Oh yeah, TCW. Oh my god, I already know what you're talking about. You're talking about the arc with inhibitor chips and... I'm
talking about Yoda's arc.
Oh, Yoda's arc in season 6.
He knows that there is a Sith Lord controlling the Senate, but he chooses to do nothing because they are already too far onto the path or something like that.
That's so fucking...
Oh yeah. I saw that where he sees like dozens of Jedi dying. Ahsoka laying on the ground, it's like, "Master, there was a Sith Lord all along."
Yeah, I totally
like,
forgot
Yoda!
about that. Oh my god, that's huge.
What are you doing, Yoda?
Literally,
then,
he allows everything to happen.
The Order 66 arc in like season 5, I think it was, where they find out about the inhibitor chips, where the Jedi start playing dumb whenever they actually have the evidence, and then on top of that, they make it to the point that they realize their clone army is rigged and somebody is actually working against them from inside, and they do nothing about it.
Yeah.
They literally found out the conspiracy involving Sifo Dyas and Count Dooku in the Clone Wars, and they did nothing about it.
Yeah, they did, and like the
they
clone
solved the case. They literally solved it.
Proof.
They literally solved it. Once again, Lord Tyrannus. The fact that they figured out in TCW that Lord Tyrannus was the Sith name of Count Dooku, and that's also the first name they learned of in conjunction to their clone army. They literally found out that the leader of the Separatists created their army, and they did nothing about it. That never happened in the EU because they would fucking do something about it.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. And then, of course, then Yoda gets Force Vision to further confirm his suspicions that they already found out about. So that's not even like a first time, oh, I just found out what happened. That's after they already knew shady shit was going on. Shit is whack, dude. I'm telling you, man. TCW gets way too much praise. Like,
yeah, well, I know some parts of it are good, and I want to like watch some of it, but I want to skip.
In
over
isolation, it's good. You can't.
Yeah, well, that's how I would be viewing it. You know, like outside of the EU, you know, be like a fun little Star Wars what if, you know, because I feel like, you know, TCW and the movies are in 2 different universes. You know,
they completely are.
Yeah, see,
they don't fit.
You know?
As someone that's seen the entire Clone Wars TV show, don't get me wrong, it has some really good moments that I completely love, but there are some really shite moments that make you question
Yeah,
some
yeah,
things.
like
And there's just some
like the
episodes are
freaking
just
droid
completely
arc.
shite.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and like,
It's like-
the droid arc. Remember that in TCW where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like droids on a desert planet. And you see it for how many episodes?
But even like the arcs that are good, you still have to take in isolation of the show's logic, because you can't like take good arcs like Umbara and whatnot, and like the Battle of
Yeah.
Kamino, because they still don't fit with the broader established universe. They still
Yeah.
completely contradict everything. Like, it's
Yeah,
like, for instance, the idea of the 501st being like the personal legion of Anakin literally makes no sense. The 501st was established to be a Black Ops like contingency order, fucking like elite of the elite squadron type thing. Like that's what they did in the Battlefront 2 campaign. The reason they were side by side by all the other legions at those battles is because they were carrying out the special contingency orders of Palpatine. Literally, you collect a crystal on Megiddo for the Death Star. Like, there's no way in hell that they are the personal legion of fucking Anakin.
yeah.
Yeah, but you also gotta remember that game was the canon for that game was retcon.
By TCW.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. TCW is what retconned it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, what does
It's
the TCW have that EU doesn't? Cad Bane? I mean, you know.
I think Cad Bane is honestly the only like original character from that show that I genuinely like, and even then, he's pretty fucking underutilized because it's a kid show. Like,
but what about Darth Maul's witch mom?
oh fuck that shit, dude. I
So
would like
dumb.
anyone to explain to me why it's a good thing to have some witches give the ability to give anyone the ability of the Force out of nowhere. Why is that something that was a good storyline?
I feel like that's dumb. You know?
Like, really think about
that's...
it. How did that get past the story group? When they were concepting the story, and Dave Filoni went, what if the witches of Dathomir gave the Force to someone, and they became the apprentice of Count Dooku? I'm sorry, did you just say gave the Force to someone? Can you confirm that? Don't worry about it. I'll work through it in the script. Don't worry about it. Like,
if I remember right, I remember used to watching the Clone Wars with like my dad, but I think it got to a point where, well, this is too violent for like young children to watch. It was like, I think it was like that arc with Grievous and like the giant monster, you know, and the clones got like eventually picked off one by one. That arc. What was it called?
Oh, yeah.
What was it called?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Isn't
You remember
the
that?
one where
You know,
Grievous
that
gets
was like,
fucked over by the clones when they like stab him with EMP staffs or some shit, and they just drag him away?
I think so. You know,
They
he gets
massacred
messed up.
my boy
There's
Grievous
a level
in that show. That makes me sad.
Yeah,
They massacred every
they
character
did,
in that
honestly.
show. Anakin is not an extension of himself from the movies. Count Dooku is not an extension of himself from the movies. General Grievous is not an extension of himself from the EU material that predated his appearance in the movies. Like,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan was
You
pretty
only
much
get-
the same, just had more quips.
I feel
So
like
I guess that was good.
I honestly feel like if the Clone Wars wasn't targeted towards kids and more targeted towards like grown teens or young adults, it could have been a really great show.
Not if Dave Filoni.
It could have.
Even in The Mandalorian, the episodes that he wrote his own characters in were inconsistent from that of the Clone Wars. He has a history of doing this. As long as
Really?
Dave Filoni's at the helm, I don't trust him.
Well, I feel like they would need a different guy, someone who likes the good parts of the series and knows how to
Possibly
write
the guy
those
who
good
did
parts.
2003 Clone Wars, regardless of the art style.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
clearly
yeah,
has
that-
an appreciation.
Oh,
for
you
the-
mean Gendy? Yeah,
Yeah.
Gendy. He's worked on multiple animation films, you know, and he knows his way around the animation community. So you know, he
Once
knows
again,
how to do this stuff.
regardless of how the animation is, like, he had a respect for the lore. He was very careful to not stomp on anyone else's work, but also introduce like 7 new characters and events. Like,
Okay, the
Yeah,
clone
well, he
lances
went
were
to-
kind of weird.
what's that?
The clone lances.
I fucking
Lancers.
think that's so cool. That's something that's carried out a bit more in the Republic comics, actually.
I feel like it's
I
such a-
actually like those.
I honestly
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
it's
it's so
such a
cool.
dumb idea to have lancers in such a far. This is just my personal opinion. Hate on me all you want, but I think it's kind of dumb.
Well, they have
Well,
guns
well-
and speeder bikes.
I mean, Getty, he
just
That
kind of
makes
has
more
a thing.
sense than a lance.
Oh, dude,
Well-
it's so fucking. You're right. It is dumb. Yeah,
Come
there
on
really
now.
isn't.
Well, the thing
Even
is,
though you have to
Gendy,
agree
he
with
has
me
a
just
thing
a
for like
little bit.
stabbing
That game, it's
physical
also dumb
weapons.
to have
And,
all white armor, not customized per environment in a galaxy-spanning fucking army.
Like even the droid lancers, and then like I, that's just me. I thought it was kind of dumb.
I don't know. I think it's just as goofy as something like the Hellfire tanks or the LATs and the AT-ATs.
I mean,
Well,
those
think
make
it's all the
sense.
same
The
vein.
Hellfire tank is an artillery unit.
An artillery unit that you have almost no control over the spinny missiles that runs at like fucking 95
Neither do
miles
the
an hour
fucking
with the
Russian-
big ass wheels with
those
the gears
big-
that are completely exposed to everyone.
What is it? Those missile trucks that Lewis loves the fuck out of that shoot missiles.
The Juggernaut tanks?
No, like the Russian tanks, not tanks, but like it just shoots missiles fucking
Oh
everywhere.
yeah.
Like, I think it's more based off of those type of vehicles. The
Oh
Hellfire
yeah, it is. It's just a super fast version of that.
Yeah. So I mean, at least
I
it's
just
something
think
that
it's
we use
equally
in
goofy.
real fucking life. But the
But
Lancers,
yeah,
we
I guess
haven't used
there
that
is a
since
certain
medieval
point where you
times.
do need to chill out on the goofiness because, you can only take so much before you go, okay, this is a little too unbelievable.
Because the first time I watched
Well,
the
I mean,
animation and saw the
goofiness-
Lancers, I was like, okay, you're losing me here.
well,
Yeah,
with
that wasn't
goofiness,
enough for
if
me
you think
to
about it,
suspend my disbelief.
well, if you think about it, Star Wars was directly inspired by Flash Gordon, and that tended to be a bit goofy, So, as long as they don't overdo it, I'm alright with that because there was a lot of that goofiness, like in the Thrawn trilogy, and I enjoyed the crap out of that. I mean, I could spoil the ending, which I
There's
thought
so
was
much
the
goofiness.
goofiest.
Dude,
Yeah,
the ending is fucking hilarious. Like, if you try to tell someone the ending, it will sound so cheesy to the point that, like, no one will believe you it's actually good, but it just works.
yeah, it worked in the context. I was like, holy smokes. And, it made me think, yo, did Doctor Who steal this idea? And I was, like, looking at the taste, like, dude, they totally did.
It works.
I mean,
Alright, anyway, boys,
yeah.
I gotta take off, though.
Oh, okay.
That's a shame.
Final
Very
closing
shame.
thoughts on the what we've read so far. What are they?
I enjoyed the fuck out of it, to be honest. Like, I love how in-depth it's going.
Yeah. It's fucking great.
Like, it's
Yeah.
leaving nothing to imagination. It's telling you all his thoughts and what he
Oh, yeah.
believes.
It's paced so well.
Yeah, it's very smooth, and I like that, I like a very smooth, very, action-orientated opening, and it had some thought-provoking moments, which I really enjoyed, and overall, I just thought it was a great opening to the book, threw you into it, it gave you some context, but, not too much, and it gave all the dialogue, all the stuff that you need to know, in like the dialogue, and I thought that's very nice. It wasn't just stating everything in the opening, like, oh, here's all the info you need to know about the book. It was just staying as
Yeah,
it goes.
Drew
I like that.
Carpershin, as his name I think is pronounced. He's like an expert of seamless exposition. He does it so fucking well. It never reads like exposition. It's fucking great. It's just seamless.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm taking off
Yeah.
now.
Wait, hold up. What chapter are we gonna go to?
Oh, let me grab the book.
Oh, are you gonna be back later so we could play some Battlefront 2 or no?
All right, so let's open up. Where's part 2? That's chapter 9, 6, 9. Cool. So I think part 3 doesn't happen until like almost 20 chapters later.
Yeah, that's
That might
what
be
I was
too
about to say.
Yeah.
I looked ahead. Part 3 is like 21 or something. I think.
Fuck, I don't know. Do you just want to make it to like chapter 20 itself? Like that's like 11 chapters. Is that a bit much, or should we shorten it a bit?
Shorten it a little bit.
Okay.
How about like
17?
chapter 7? Yeah, 17.
I can do 17.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
17 would be good.
We'll make it to chapter 17. If you guys make it to 17 early and feel that you want to continue a few more chapters, if it's like a cliffhanger, that's fine. Just let us know.
Knowing me,
Okay.
I'll be reading it the night before.
What's that?
I said, knowing me, I'll be reading it the day before.
Well, for me, I read it almost immediately. I had some free time around the day. I got to chapter 6. I was like, oh frick! Now I have to wait, and so I ended up reading another book while I was waiting. So
When is our next
I
meeting?
read it all today, actually.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I already read the book, so I gave myself lenience.
Yeah, I know. For me, I was just like hyped. I was like, oh yeah, reading into this. It was so good, and that casino scene like enthralled me so much. I just had to keep reading.
I fucking
I
wish
just had-
Tanner was goddamn here, cause he'd
Oh my
fucking
God.
love it. Ah.
So when is the next meeting?
Next Wednesday.
Next what?
Next one.
Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Are you gonna be on later, Coconut, for some Battlefront 2?
We'll see. I'm not entirely certain. Don't bet on it.
Alright.
Oh, okay. Well, at me if you guys do play some, you know, I'd be game to join.
This is our discussion podcast, episode 6, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done a podcast in forever, so I could literally.
Oh,
just
were
make
you
this
recording
another-
this?
Yes.
Oh, you record this all the time? Oh, hell yeah, man. Good job. GG.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
All right, I'm taking off.
Thinking I'm
Bye-bye.
never recording.
Okay,
is
see ya.
No, I'm literally always recording.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay,
well,
not always.
I'll see you. Yeah, I can't figure as much. Anyway, I'll see you later, Ryan. Add me if Coconut comes back on and you guys play Battlefront 2.
Will do.
Yeah.
See ya.